keep them all quiet because I'm like a chatterbox. Stephanie Jackson, you are looking fantastic tonight. Look at you, darling. Look at you. Oh, thank you for joining our chat room. All right, 30 seconds here. The lovely and talented Geraldine Orozco is our guest. This is one of my favorite nights of the month, anytime I get to talk to her. And, she speaks at so many events. When we're allowed to do that again, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, go watch Geraldine speak. You guys are going to be absolutely amazed. Geraldine, we have 10 seconds before we launch everything here. And, hey, Corin's the booking guy. You're fantastic, buddy. Hey, Knucker, no draft picks today. Here we go, guys. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Tonight, the lovely and talented Geraldine Orozco is back on Spaced Out Radio, and I absolutely love it when she is here because she always seems to bring us our Zen and our Chi on the spiritual you. Geraldine in 2017 underwent several hypnotic regressions with vetted therapists. Why? Because she had to figure out what was going on with her. The regressions uncovered a long line of history of abductions from aliens and participation in human hybridization. She believes she has had 24 hybrid children as a result. Her life is now dedicated to the dissemination of knowledge of hybridization programs and the correction of the commonly held dogma of the human genetic timeline, historical record, and human structure. She is the owner of Bay Area Meditation. Throw a .com on the back of that. You have the website. That's in San Francisco, California, and she works with some media giants. She is one of the most wanted people when it comes to speaking on everything from consciousness, spirituality, all the way to ET contact. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Geraldine Orozco, I love it when you're here. It's always a calming effect for me. How have you been?
That's amazing. It's been such a powerful month. So much has gone on, and I'm just so happy to be here once again with everyone. Pleasure to connect with you, as always. So, ready to go.
Oh,
thank you, Dave.
Well, that's all right. We love it when you are here, too, and thank you again for making time. This is one of our favorite times of the month around here as well. Geraldine, for people who may not be familiar with your work, we always like to reintroduce you and let people know who you are. You are someone where you lived a busy corporate life. You were someone who was up at 6 in the morning and not getting home until 11 or 12 at night, which made you a very successful businesswoman in the San Francisco, California area. But then all of a sudden, all of that changed for you, and you gave up that corporate life. Tell us about it.
So I was very much into working in the telecom industry before I even started my business. So it was all about 9 to 5, going to work. And it felt like Groundhog Day at some point, where it was just always the same thing over and over again. And what I realized is I began to feel almost like my creative spirit, my soul was dying, just being in a cubicle every single day with the same monotony. And after work, having just a few hours left of the day where you can scramble up some kind of activity that will help you de-stress from your long day at work and interacting with people. And it was just such a terrible, it just became such a terrible cyclical pattern, daily having to deal with those emotions and toxic people around you. And it came to the point where, amazingly, the company was outsourced. And as a result of that, I got sent to China to train my replacement. And it was in China that I actually was introduced to the import-export industry. And that's kind of how I started. I took my severance package. I was offered the position in China, but I would have had to take a big, major pay cut, and I would have had to learn Chinese. And so that wasn't really working for me. And what I thought was, I don't want to go back to that monotony. And so I had already started learning about meditation. I had been meditating a lot, and I realized that how much it helped me in my career. And I almost feel like, because of the work that I was doing to deprogram already at that time, this is 2008, 2009, I feel like because of that, it's almost as if the company, had this sell going on. It went bankrupt, and it was such a perfect opportunity to make a change. And so when that came up, I took the severance package. I invested it in a bunch of stuff that I imported in order to start my event planning company. And alongside of that, I decided to start teaching meditation. And it first started out as a meetup group. It was Bay Area Meditation here in San Francisco Bay Area. And I used to have 20, 30 people come to my office where I had an event planning company, and we just meditated. And now the group is up to 700 people. And it turned into a corporate thing. I started to get invited to people's companies and offices, and they're like, you need to come and teach meditation. So I became very much interested in the healing arts, and especially after the death of my partner, who really kind of made me really question, if you're doing everything right, if I have the degree, if I have the job, if I have this lifestyle of having my own business, now being self-employed, and things are still not going in the right direction, what is this life all about? What is the meaning of everything? I started to question everything, and that really took me into a deep dive into the spiritual realm, into reality, into emotions. And what I realized, Dave, is that at that point, after all my life, I still had not understood what love was. I still had not understood what it was to be in control of my emotions and be able to integrate the things that were happening to me. I felt completely out of control, like my life was spinning out of control, and it was taking control of my emotions and how I felt about things. So, I also battled depression during those times. And if it wasn't for meditation, there were moments where I really didn't think I was going to make it. So, for me, I think I made a very serious commitment to trying to find truth, to understand myself as a human in this human experience. I wanted to ask these questions. And sooner or later, like all of these retreats, all of these little groups and lectures, one of my favorite places to go was a bookstore here in the Bay Area. I used to go there to all these live events, but everything started to sound the same. Everyone's message would say, love yourself, come and meditate, do the work. And at one point I was questioning, what on earth is this work that they're talking about? So after a while, I decided to actually apply everything I had learned. I decided to make myself a spiritual guinea pig and literally practice everything that I was reading in these books, everything that I was being taught. And I was lucky enough to find a shaman that I started to learn, shamanism for doing energy work. And I became trained under him. I became pranic healing, certified in pranic healing, certified in quantum energy healing, because I wanted to understand the different facets of healing modalities and what it meant to embody them, to feel them. I was exploring. And I think after years of working in that work, after understanding deprogramming, I began through my own personal work to understand how to deprogram DNA. But it wasn't until I had my abduction experience in 2013 that actually everything just zipped open. And that's when things really got interesting. So that was the beginning of it.
When you look back at your corporate life to where you are today, it is such a 180 in changing what you're doing. Yes, you still have the business acumen of running a business and getting to know people and cultivating leads and clients and everything. That doesn't change, but the entire aspect of what you're doing did change. Do you like the person you were before comparatively to now, or is that still the same person, just in a different direction?
Well, I got to tell you that during those times when I realized that I didn't understand what love was, I realized that I really did not love myself at all. I didn't like myself. I couldn't tolerate myself, as a matter of fact, because there were parts of me that I felt so much shame for. Things that, there's a disassociation that occurs when you intuitively sense certain emotions, certain perspectives about things. You look at relationships with partners, look at relationships with your family. And when we're in a constant state of survival, we kind of end up creating identities to kind of fit in like puzzle pieces to all of these relationships. And that really created such a tremendous split between who I really felt like I wanted to be and who I felt I needed to be in order to have some kind of pleasing relationships with family members, with even my own parents, even my partners at the time. And over time, that creates so much anxiety and a tremendous amount of resentment towards myself for not being who I truly was. So for me, it was an inspiration to experience certain kind of traumatic events through business, through my personal life, that kind of really made me want to say, okay, what is true? Geraldine is not the product of a stressful career. She's not a product of her education. She's not a product of religion, her culture, her society. Then who is this woman that claims to be Geraldine? And it took a moment to kind of deep dive into that self. And when I found my true self, I got to tell you, it's a moment in which we experience many deaths and rebirths, because we're finding out things about ourselves. We're finally acknowledging parts of ourselves that haven't always been authentic, that haven't always been truthful, that haven't always been real, and it's hard for us because in our society, so we're used to putting a smile on our face. We're used to looking really great from the outside, but we're not used to sharing our most intimate emotions. So for me, uncovering all of that was a really big journey. And with the clients I work with today, with all my wonderful network of people that I work with today, this is what we work through. We work through those really painful deaths where we are kind of letting go of an identity that we've created for ourselves, maybe multiple identities, in order to find who we really are. And it's a very tricky process. It can be very painful. So who I am today is exactly in alignment with my belief, with my core beliefs, with my morals, with the way I look at the world around me, and looking at things absolutely truthfully without any kind of fear or anxiety or denial. And I feel freer than I've ever felt in my entire life at this point, because I'm being 100% true to who I am and what I'm doing. And this is the kind of freedom that I really hope to share with everyone, that is coming into this healing work. We are capable of embodying such a massive expression that is sometimes intimidating.
One of the things that I find in my daily life, that, and you and I have talked very personally about this, I work 2 full-time jobs. I have my daytime job. I have 90 minutes to be a dad, and then I have to come in, put my nighttime clothing on, and, change my voice to make it sound more radio-like, and here I am doing a show. All right? And I do this 5 days a week. And I can tell you, the one thing that I have noticed through this entire process is that dedication is something that a lot of people say they have, but they have no idea how to find it. And I think I'm good at that. I'll pat myself on the back for that one. But number 2, as I apparently just hiccuped there for a quick second, number 2, I would say that for a lot of us, whether you're working 2 jobs because you're just trying to keep a roof over your head and food on the table for the family, or whether you're like me where you don't need to be doing the secondary job, but you do it because you love it and you believe in it, like I do, okay, we get tired. We get frustrated. We get, we want everything now. We want everything. I'll be honest with you. and it leads into our thought of the day question today. I'm exhausted, and I know I'm not the only one. I'm not whining. I'm not complaining about it because there are choices that I make and that I don't have to make, because if I wanted to walk away from this show, which I don't plan on doing because I love it too much, okay, but I wouldn't have to worry. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I do it because I believe in our product, I believe in our fans, I believe in our guests, and I believe that I have a lot of fun doing this. You know, on a side note, the entire family goes to bed about 9 o'clock. Well, I would be up till like 1 a.m. anyways, so I might as well be doing something that I enjoy. So here I am. Anyways, with all of that, there's a lot of people like me right now who are just exhausted. We're exhausted from working. We're exhausted from our children. We're exhausted by relationships. We're exhausted by politics. We're exhausted about hearing about racial tension when all we want to do is live and be free, good human beings. You know, we're exhausted. How do we continue on with very little energy?
You know, we got to look at the basics. What is it that exhausts us? What is it that drains our life force energy when it comes to all of these things that we have to do in our life? One of the things that we feel like we're doing, and it just goes back to what I was sharing with you earlier, what's exhausting is that we are putting certain masks, putting certain faces so that we can show up to the places that we've made agreements to with a certain presence, with a certain agreement, you know, a certain emotional investment in relationships with our children, with our careers, with all these things. And all of those things are incredibly draining when we don't have a center, core, and identity of ourself that is in alignment with all aspects of ourselves. We become completely displaced. And so our energy becomes dispersed between so many different perceptions of ourselves, fears, anxieties, and we're constantly moving through these emotions throughout our day. So that becomes incredibly draining. So one of the most powerful techniques that I've learned on my journey, especially when it comes to multitasking, I mean, I've run several companies as a multiple entrepreneur for many years, and the focus that I spend on managing my emotions is actually one of the biggest energy banks that we have. We deplete ourselves completely because emotionally we come into states of fear, we come into states of judgment. Every moment that we apply certain meaning to things, we are draining energy out of our body. And so coming into a state of neutrality, observation in all of those relationships is a tool and a technique that we can utilize. But what does it mean? Okay, so coming into neutrality, what it means is that we are bringing ourselves into a state in which we are aware of ourselves fully and we're absolutely authentic with our emotions. The amount of energy that it takes in order to, let's say, for example, someone says something on the news that really irritates you, and so you are triggered. And in that 1 second of a trigger, you immediately are responding with emotion, with energy. There's a surge of energy that runs through your body, which is that energy. It's the chemicals that run through the body. And right in that moment, you are being drained of your life force energy. And let's say, okay, so then you go home and you are with your kids, and your kids are wonderful, but then, you know, our partner comes in and all these stressful things that have to happen in the next 2 hours. So we're running around. And so, you know, we go into these states of anxiety. We still haven't processed the last emotion from what we heard on the radio or on the TV, and now we're dealing with family. And so what happens is that at the end of the day, we've added into our identity in ourself energetically. We're holding on to all of these unprocessed emotions that completely drain us from our life force. So our awareness of where we're putting our attention and how we're interacting with everything in our life is incredibly important to sustaining a healthy energy bank in the body. And where that awareness can come from is from a deep connection with your authenticity. Okay, and knowing that you being authentically and having your own perceptions and ideas and about things that are happening around you aren't threatened by someone else's actions, their perceptions, and the things that they say and do. Because we're in a constant state of cause and effect. We want to react to the things that happen around us at all times. And that reactionary experience, that reactionary action is extremely draining for the body. So imagine if you weren't constantly reacting to things. It's like a candle in the wind. When the candle moves one way, you move in that direction. So at the end of the day, your light goes out. Your light goes out because you're all over the place. So bringing it back, grounding yourself. I teach a technique called GPAC, which really talks about training your awareness of your body. And it's not like you don't have to go meditate on a mountain for years in order to understand this. It's a matter of implementing it into your everyday life while you're at work, while you're listening to something on TV, maintaining a certain balance and owning your space, which is here, everything that's within your field, within your energetic field. That's what you can control. If you keep trying to externalize that control and trying to shift and change the things that are happening around you, that's an incredible amount of life force energy. So right here, there's like 4 or 5 different techniques that you can do to hold on to your life force energy. And it's not going to change the way it's not going to limit your expression with other people. As a matter of fact, you're going to learn and train yourself to come into an even more authentic self. More authentic with your children. You'll be more present with them. More authentic with family members. More authentic with when you see something, instead of reacting, you're just observing, you're listening, and little by little, you realize the value of each expression, each reaction that you have to things. Now, you come from a place of cause and effect into a state of creation, and you become more in charge of how you're interacting with your everyday life. So, there's a process to transforming those kinds of dialogues with things that happen in your life.
Well, I can say this. I'm so excited because I booked a chiropractor appointment coming up here. I need a good bone crushing to help relax me in order to... I swear something just dropped around here. I don't know. I swear I heard something. Maybe it was just me. Anyways, maybe it was my bones cracking, getting all excited for the chiropractor. I don't know. But there's a big difference between physical exhaustion and mental exhaustion. And what a lot of people are going through these days, as we have about 90 seconds to go here, is mental exhaustion, Geraldine. And it's not a lot of fun. People aren't sleeping well. They're worried about their world. They're worried about what's going on around them. Will they work? Will they be here for a while? It's tough right now on people, mentally.
Well, I got to tell you something. The body is a multidimensional body, which means that only 10% of the body is physical. The rest of it is non-physical. So, in fact, there actually is no separation between the emotional and physical body, Dave. As a matter of fact, we store all of that emotional stuff that you're draining out of your body is being stored in the body as energy, becoming stagnant, and that over time, when we neglect it, when we ignore those heavy emotions that we're feeling, now become a stomach ache, now become a headache, now become body aches and pains in the body. And information transforms from vibrational frequency into liquid form, into the DNA, and crystallizes into a much heavier frequency, which is stuck within the body. So when I meditate, there's a technique that I do where you run energy and you move the stagnant energy out of the body. You literally you should come to my classes every day. People are telling me, oh my God, I had this pain in my neck that wouldn't go away. And when I did the meditation, I was able to remove it out of my neck, and now I have no problem in my neck. So we can heal our own body. This is the power of the body. We have mind over matter. That's the law of this physical body that we can heal and transform through emotions, through awareness of those emotions, through where you're putting your attention and the actions that you're making, which now are going to be more thoughtful and more connected to the body.
Right on. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Hopefully we can use some of her energy and we all won't be so exhausted. We continue right after this. Hello, Geraldine Orozco.
Hello.
All right, we're clear. Oh, Anybody see? Maybe you saw it too, where the tree trimmer climbed up that palm tree that was bent right over at the tip, and he'd climb up there, and he takes his chainsaw out, he cuts the top off, and the tree starts whipping him back and forth while he's holding on for dear life. I tell you, I would not want that. I would not want that.
Wow, I have not seen that. I don't know what that's all about. I wonder if our viewers have seen that.
I don't know. I cut a beautiful dead tree the other day. Beautiful dead tree. I'm pretty happy about it.
Wow, great.
Yeah. Yeah. You've never seen a chainsaw up close and personal, have you?
I have.
You have
Dave.
not. You have not.
Yes, I have.
You have not.
Hey, I'm not that much of a city girl. Come on now.
You have 3 rooms in your house dedicated to your stiletto heels.
I do not. I don't. I'm actually very excited to sometime soon move out into the country in some land. I can't wait to get out there, actually.
Oh, yeah. Come up here. Land's cheap up here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. The only problem is it's freezing cold. I don't know if I can handle that snow that you can handle up there.
Yeah, but you get used to it. You get used to it.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll have to go check it out. Ideas from viewers. Where do you guys live? Where's a good place to go and retire? Where's a good place to go and be with nature?
Vegas. Vegas.
Vegas? That's not nature.
Good enough for me. That's where I'm retiring.
Are you going to take your chainsaw out to Vegas?
If I have to. I'm still trying to figure out in southern Nevada how they have forest fires when there's no friggin' trees. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyways, let's see here. If you go to Nova Scotia, I will never visit you because apparently Nova Scotia on the eastern part of Canada is now surrounded by great white sharks and a record number this year, and I don't do sharks, so, that's enough for me. Where should we retire? I think you should come to British Columbia. Actually,
I heard it was so beautiful up there.
Actually, if you want a real beautiful place, that area between eastern Washington State, Idaho, and Montana is gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Interesting. Yeah, you know what? I actually heard a friend of mine that was visiting there, planning to move there. So this is the 3rd time I'm hearing about that place. I'll speak up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then you're only an 8-hour drive instead of a 21-hour drive.
There you go. That's better.
That's where I'm looking at the positives right now. I'm looking at the positive. And then we'll take, we'll take Marty from Twitter. We'll bring him up too, so that way he can sing us some jazz or something. Because I'm sure he plays a good jazz flute.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Shout out to Marty.
Love Marty. Love Marty.
Thank you for being here, Marty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It goes, hey, Davey, we have trees here in southern Nevada. Palm trees aren't trees. I want, honestly, I'm not even going to bug you about it. I was in the forest the other day, and literally I was surrounded by trees. I think the smallest tree I saw was probably 70, 80 feet tall.
Wow.
It was
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome. And then I went right in between those trees. There was a big dead one that stood about 70 feet high, and I knocked it down. My buddy Mike and I did it. Just took the chainsaw and cut it down and cut it all up. It's sitting in my carport right now. Filled my truck with one tree. Filled my truck. It was awesome.
And this is a dead tree?
Yes, you see. You want to take the dead trees out of the forest because those are the ones that cause forest fires.
Yeah, interesting. That's a lot of work. It's amazing, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Gil, how you doing? No, I don't wear a leather face mask. Don't need to social distance in our forest here. Let's see. I'm going back to my Sasquatch gifting site in a few days here because I I need to find out. We're going to set up a trail camera. I'll tell you the story of the next half hour, Geraldine. But
yeah, I
we
can't
had
wait to
we
hear
had
that.
we had something really, really weird. It could be completely human. Not going to say it isn't. Could be completely human. But we had something really strange happen in the forest the other day.
Interesting.
Hold on
okay,
here,
can't
hon.
wait to. All right.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you. Thank you so much for taking the time to jump on the woo train with us. We want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight, it's the spiritual you as we mark the return of the lovely and talented Geraldine Orozco as she joins us once a month to bring us our Zen and our Chi. And right before the break with Geraldine, her website, by the way, BayAreaMeditation.com and GeraldineOrozco.com. Right before the break, we were talking about people being exhausted. You know, physically and mentally, we may be out of energy. We may be tired. We may be, just on the brink of not being able to think straight or properly anymore. I've noticed that I am making some errors that I don't normally make in my everyday life, Geraldine. And that's what happens when you've pushed yourself too far. Now, if you're physically pushing yourself too far, what does that do to the spirit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and so as I was mentioning earlier, we are more energetic and more non-physical than the physical. And so, what we want to try to come into is an awareness now of a new human. What is the new human? The new human is a person that is aware of their multidimensionality. It's someone that's aware of how energy exchanges happen, how energy drainage happens from the body, how we end up depleted because of toxic people that we're with, choices that we make, emotional investments that don't serve us. So all of these things affect the body and the bank of energy that is reserved in order to apply and make changes that create vitality in our life. You can, there have been times in my life where I was working, oh my goodness, almost 16, 20 hours a day because I was working multiple shifts and doing multiple projects. And when I learned a couple techniques, for example, I'll teach you one of those techniques now. It's, first of all, grounding down to the center of the earth and eliminating all of the emotions, the heavy emotions that are within your body. The body is electric. It's like an electric charge. When you have too much of that static, heavy, negative charge in the body, all the organs come out of balance. Even the lymphatic system begins to operate because you're holding on to a tremendous amount of stress that causes inflammation in the body, and that causes your immune system to drop. It messes up with your sleep cycle. The body, when it doesn't go into nature, for example, when it's out of alignment with the natural circadian rhythm of the planet, or when it's out of alignment with its natural flow of toroidal energy that moves through the body, it becomes out of balance. And there's many layers of this, depending on how our relationship is with the divine feminine and masculine, relationships with father and mother that we have, programs that we're holding on to ancestrally, will feed into our experiences, and they will inform the triggers that we have. And if we have a lot of triggers that are unresolved, we become slaves to those triggers because our day, instead of being an enriching, energizing, and fruitful day, it ends up being nothing but a cause and reaction to trigger after trigger after trigger. that we're just barely surviving. The body goes into survival mode. And so the body is pulling information on how to respond to events around us from many locations. It pulls from the organism, the physical body, right? So all the systems of the body and the natural balance that the body is in. So whether the organs are functioning, whether the digestive system is functioning properly, the biome within our bellies that are either in balance or out of balance also play a tremendous role in how we are managing our energy. And also our eating habits take a lot of energy. If our eating habits are full of sugar, for example, or heavy or fattening things that drain and cause us to rise and crash energetically, the biome is out of balance. The physical body is out of balance. And so all of these really, really important parts are constantly writing our DNA, right? So we look at epigenetics to understand how the environment affects our DNA. So if your DNA day after day, month after month, year after year is being written by the same program of self-destructive behaviors, emotions, actions, and habits, what are you going to end up being? You end up being a completely out of balance organism. And if you look at your body energetically, your energy body is full of holes, it has cracks, your chakras are all messed up, the organs are suffering, and you're stressed, and you're mostly in survival mode because you are in survival. You're trying to survive. This is where your perception is coming from. So in order to rebalance this body, this energetic charge that you are, we have to reset. We have to train and show the body how to come out of that survival mode into a state of balance. So one of those techniques is grounding. Ground yourself, and you can either connect a cord from your waist to down. And if it's hard for you to connect, visualize that you have a big harness around your entire body, a big belt, a big, even like a corset around the body that is connecting down to the center of the earth and grounding you. And through this grounding cord, you imagine that you're channeling out, you're pushing out of your body all of the emotions that are heavy that you don't need in this present moment. What makes the present moment a difficult moment to be in is our emotions that are so overwhelming that we haven't addressed, that take over and take charge of our perceptions. So there's a lot of layers to that, right? So we have to take the time to work with those emotions, those triggers that occur. When they're unresolved, they are stuck in the body. And they are continuously making us come into states of anxiety. I just want you to review your last week and ask yourself, what is the emotion that you most came into in that past week? If your answer is anxiety, fear, stress, take a look at that. It means that there's something that has to be addressed in those patterns. Something's got to change. Otherwise, you're on a path of self-destruction. And so just taking a moment to take a step back and looking at those behaviors and trends that we tend to make in our life is going to change how we begin to act and behave. Just that awareness. When you're in the present moment, your mind is not pulling from memories of the past that can be really heavy. You could be thinking, oh my God, all the stuff that I was doing, all the things that happened to me, the traumas that I've had, the bad relationships that I've had, the losses, right? And so your moment now is fed by all of those past experiences, and it's also going to create these futuristic ideas, right? In the future, the same thing will happen. I'm afraid of making this business decision because I'm afraid of loss or failure. So look at how our mind is just split up in these two different areas that are completely not real, the past and the future. And when we do that, we're choosing timelines. And the only time to create a timeline that you can actually create from actually will be a vibrant, a vital, creative timeline is when it's made in the present moment. Because only in the present moment are you acting from things that are real. The things that are in the past are not here right now. The things in the future are not here right now. So if you pull from those, you're only going to be creating scenarios that are based on untruths. So this is how it affects our actions. So if you make choices from the present moment, if you're aware of how you're choosing and why you're choosing what you're choosing, because it's in alignment with what's here right now. Right now you have your health, you're in a safe place, you have food, okay, you have a roof, you have all of these things right now that are available to you that create a nurturing and safe environment for you. You can pull into that and work with that energy. And so now the actions that you make, let's say you go and work on some project, you're going to be 100% focused on that project, and you're going to be in alignment with what you're doing. And what you do, it'll show as a product of your hard work, of your attention. So these are some really great techniques that you can use. When you ground yourself, you're bringing yourself into the moment, right? When you protect your body, you're aware of your energetic space. You're not allowing yourself to drain energy, and you're not acting from fear. So, for example, if you're comparing yourself to other people around you, or you're fearful of how your actions are going to affect things, all of those thoughts are things that are coming from the fear, past and future. So again, bring yourself into the present moment, and that will really affect, how you act moving forward.
There's a lot of fear right now, though. Okay, there is a lot of fear. I mean, take the political side out of it. Okay, I'll go through what I go through. Okay. My community, it's only 1,800 people. Okay, we're all worried about the COVID, and I will say this. And I'm going to put this, I've said it before, I'm going to put it on record again, okay? I am not a COVID denier like a lot of conspiracy theorists out there. I do believe it is out there. I do believe it is a horrific disease. I've met a number of people who have had it and battled through it and thankfully survived. Well, of course they survived, otherwise they would have been talking to me. My cousin runs the COVID program in my old hometown. He's one of the top doctors and disease specialists in Canada. All right, I fully believe this is happening. Okay, but what I can't handle, and it's my own anxiety that I am dealing with, and I know there's others out there because I've talked to them, whether they're in our audience or whether it was publicly, out when I was out in town or just hanging out with friends. What I can't handle is paranoia. All right? I can't handle paranoia. So, for instance, I have no problem with wearing a mask. Do I prefer to wear a mask? No. If I don't have to wear a mask, I don't. Okay, and there's a lot of places here where we don't need to wear a mask. All right, but for those areas that we do, what sets my anxiety off is when I see things going overboard, or what I perceive as going overboard. For instance, I a couple months ago went to buy a new pair of shoes, and we have one shoe store in town. And every time I took a step forward, the lady who was helping me would absolutely jump back in absolute fear. If I moved 6 inches forward, she jumped 3 steps back. And that bothered me. That set me off. And there's a lot of people like that because we're not used to this. Our bodies don't like this. We're not used to being in a hive. I go to the hockey rink yesterday for my son's first hockey practice, and they want us to sign out forms and all these COVID forms, and they're telling parents don't sit in the stands too close, but yet they have half the stands blocked off that you can't get to sit, so you're sitting away from other people. You know what I'm saying? That sets off my anxiety. It's things like that. And for a lot of people, Geraldine, when it's like living in Groundhog Day, thinking, am I the only person who is getting that, yes, there's a pandemic going on, but no, we don't need to hit the paranoia button along with it?
Right. I mean, it's difficult, right? I mean, you are able to kind of rationalize this, but the problem is that, unfortunately, we've been bombarded with all kinds of mixed messages and all kinds of things in the media that make us feel very paranoid about what's happening right now. So, we gotta be compassionate about that. A lot of us that are listening to that, I mean, it's a tremendous kind of manipulation of our fear that's occurred. Sometimes things have been taken so out of proportion, and there's a lot of disinformation that causes us to feel very very unsure about what's happening and how to respond, how to act when we're in those situations that are so simple, like going shoe shopping or being there. And I got to say, I feel for the people that are out there that are working right now, during all of this, because you think of what they're experiencing. Obviously, they're in a tremendous amount of fear right now because of what's occurring. But I guess for those of you that are here that are aware of learning how to take care of yourself, learning how to be in charge of your body, learning how to handle from a more spiritual perspective, more conscious perspective, it's our responsibility to hold space with ourselves. And so when we come into these situations, manage our anxiety with those things. I mean, because we are experiencing things. When we come in contact with people, we are in resonance. Okay, we're sharing this experience globally because we've somehow made an agreement to come at this time and experience what we're experiencing here collectively. And all of us have now, more than ever, we're kind of united through these experiences and what's happening. So it's an opportunity, in my eyes, if you wish to look at it in this way, in order to really learn how to manage this kind of anxiety that we feel. And I feel like it's something that's been bubbling up for years, many years, a lot. We've had so many opportunities to handle our anxiety and we haven't done it. And now something like this comes out and it just really triggers that part of us that feels helpless and incapable of being in control of the emotions. So I would say that now more than ever is a time for us to become aware that we can be in control of the emotions. And Dave, you're a very spiritual person. I mean, all of us, we work so hard to try to maintain our inner balance that this is the tools that now is the time to apply all of the things that we've heard about, right? Learning how to calm ourselves, how to be aware of that, and be compassionate of the people that are on the other end of that, which don't have the tools. If you have the tools to help bring yourself in the present moment and be balanced in your emotions, and you're still responding with the same anxiety as the other person, it's going to take us out of balance even further. So it's a wonderful time to apply our wisdom and help ourselves make choices from a place that is even more profound than just superficially what we're seeing outside. And the tools that we have are to learn how to manage this energetic body, how when we change our vibrational frequency, we choose the timelines that we're experiencing, we choose to move out of fearful experiences, and we can shift from even sickness into a state of health. We can help the body, right? And so we should apply this wisdom not just to the potential disease that's out there and everything that's happening physically, but also to our emotions that become very toxic in the body. It's a really great time to apply those things and to walk the walk, talk the talk as spiritual people right now.
I realize that, and for a lot of us, I think it's creating more introverted people that we do not want to deal with what is happening in society because we are so disappointed with watching those people hoard toilet paper, watching those people, flip out because somebody 12 feet away doesn't have a mask on while they're standing out in the open air on a park, sitting on a park bench. You know what I'm saying? Like we are seeing, we're not seeing the best of people. We're seeing some of the worst because none of us know how to act in front of anybody now.
Well, and that's a problem. And you know what? I got to say, it's our fault. It really is our fault because, we've allowed ourselves as a society to become very manipulated by things. In a sense, it's like psychological warfare, what has happened to our society, where we are battling, what we intuitively feel to be true and real and what's being told to us. And we really need to, in this time, take responsibility for what we truly feel is the right action right now. Hoarding toilet paper is obviously not going to help anyone. I mean, that coming from that place is just coming into a state of complete survival mode without even being conscious and aware of how it's affecting our environment. So if you're going into that action, you're really lacking in awareness in noticing how your actions are affecting not just yourself, just playing out that action, but also, your community. So little by little, one by one, each person that takes the time to listen to this, take a step back and think about how your actions contribute to this anxiety and this chaos in the world around us. The things that you say, the things that you share, the opinions that you have, the perceptions that you're creating about other people, even the judgment that you place on other people, can be very toxic and limiting, towards ourselves and how other people express themselves. So there's a lot going on, and I don't necessarily want to get totally into it because there's a lot of things and systems right now that are being manipulated, including how we express ourselves and what we're talking about, on radio and on YouTube. So, but I think intuitively, if you connect to your intuition and you are guided by that intuition, try to choose things that are more constructive rather than destructive. And it's in our hands. It's in our hands to make those choices. We want to come into a unity consciousness. The only way we're going to be able to do that is to stop believing the things that are an inversion of natural truths. Our ability to heal our body is very much there. If you know that, you can't go into a state of chaos when you hear that these things are happening around us. There's a natural order to things in this world. And if we understand that truly in our body and our mind, then we're going to be acting from that truth. So it's in our hands, it's in our responsibility, how we handle and run our families, how we communicate with our children, how we feel around our children even, because our children pick up everything that we feel. And so then it just begins to propagate. It's like it runs from one person to another. We're contagiously contaminating everyone with fear, with all this anxiety. And so that has to stop, and it stops with us.
Right.
So, yeah.
I want to ask you this, though, okay, as we only got about 2.5 minutes before we go to break at the top of the hour, Geraldine. All right. How do you divide the reality of what's going on and trying to balance that when, as you stated before, you're hammered by the media, which you don't know where to turn in the mainstream. You can't trust them very much anymore. And on the flip side, on the alternative media, you are hammered by a lot of erroneous and false conspiracy theories.
Right. Like this is part of the time that we're going to right now, energetically, collectively on the planet, is to learn how to exercise our discernment. You've had years to train your intuition. If you're not working actively right now on training your intuition so that you know what's in alignment with you, these times are hard right now, and they're only going to get harder. Because of how technology has spread to the level that it has and how easily manipulated these platforms are, social media, the news platforms, television, all of these things are bought. They're bought and paid for specific agendas. If you don't understand that now, then you need to research and understand what's happening. And once you do, you have to pull away your attention, your energy, your investment with your time is paying for those platforms to continue to create chaos in our world. And so part of our responsibility is educating ourselves on how these platforms are paid for and who they're run by, so that we can learn how to gently move away from being codependent on those systems and training our intuition. Our society is coming into a new era. It's an information era, but it's an information area that's not connected to technology. It's connected to the biotechnology of the body, which is a profound connection to your intuition and to what is in this human organism, this biotechnology that we have, instead of connecting and becoming transhumanism, which we are deeply interconnected with technology, which is very easily manipulated. So that differentiation has to be made now in the early beginnings of how we're beginning to change in society right now.
Geraldine, wonderful place to end it, as we will continue this conversation When we come back, Geraldine Orozco's The Spiritual You happens near the beginning of each month here on Spaced Out Radio. Her websites are GeraldineOrozco.com and BayAreaMeditation.com. We love it when Geraldine is on Spaced Out Radio. And we're going to continue, and we'll take your questions if you're in our chat rooms or on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine Orozco's The Spiritual You continues right after this. All right, I'm back. We got 6 minutes. I'll be right back. I'm just going to run my dogs outside, okay?
All right, great. Me too.
Bumblefoot.com, where you could find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com, and remember, little brother is watching.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent, and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi. This is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hey Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you'd know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. you'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver.
All right, I'm back. We got 2 minutes, Geraldine. 2 minutes.
All right, great. I'm still here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm glad you're here, too.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, I'm that guy. Hey, George, how you doing, buddy? Hi, Awesome Annie. If you're new to our chat room, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. So anyways, a few weeks ago, I went and set up a gifting site for Sasquatch at this area where we got talked to a couple years ago, where we heard the Sasquatch voices. Mm-hmm. And my buddy Mark puts out a nickel, an old 1960s nickel. And anyways, the next time we were there, a couple weeks ago, the nickel is gone. And it's in an area where very few, if anybody, is going to be walking. So we went back there this last weekend, and my son was with us. And he goes, "Hey, Dad, look at this coin just sitting on this plastic ball here." And there was a 2019 nickel now sitting on an area which would, if there was a heavy rain or a heavy rain or a windstorm, that nickel would be pushed down. I am tripping out over that nickel. Tripping out.
Wow. How on earth did it end up there? That's so strange.
I know. This is what we're trying to figure out. So we're going to go set up a webcam, or not a webcam, but a trail cam for it. Quickly, before we get back to the show, thank you to Kimberly and Avni Jesus for the super chats tonight. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I'm your host, Dave Scott. Fantastic beard, awesome hair, and yeah, thank goodness this is radio where you can't see me unless you watch our YouTube feed. Then you can to check it out for yourself. I want to remind you that we are very thankful to be broadcasting on all of our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ginglimius. Ginglimius is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You, where once a month we try and find our Zen and our Chi with this lovely lady from BayAreaMeditation.com, based out of San Francisco, California, where the last time she saw snow was about, I don't even know. I don't think she's ever seen it. Yes, I know she has, but that's just the way we like to make fun of Geraldine around here, who thinks that 60 degrees Fahrenheit is cold. How you doing, Geraldine?
Thankfully, it's not 60 degrees out here, and yes, I do think it's cold. And the last time I saw snow, I think, was about 2 years ago. 2 years ago or 1 year ago?
You traveled to it. You traveled to it.
I did.
Hold on. I'm going to find out what the temperature is here. It's 52 degrees Fahrenheit where I am right now, so 11 degrees Celsius. I'm in shorts and a T-shirt.
Oh, my goodness.
Just so you know. Shorts and a T-shirt. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I'll be in shorts for another month and a half. Yeah.
Are you serious? It's 73 over here. I probably shouldn't talk.
You probably have all your winter woolies already laid out on the couch just in case it breaks 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
I absolutely do, Dave. That's the California girl, unfortunately.
I know. I can imagine it. I can totally imagine it. Oh, we love you around here. Thank you so much for doing this like you do this every single month, my good friend. And, right before the break, we were talking a lot about, anxiety and how to control our spiritual side with everything that is going on in the world. You mentioned a lot about meditation and how meditation helps. And for a lot of us, we don't have time to do that. I know myself, the amount of hours I work, to get 5 minutes to myself is darn near impossible to turn the mind off. How do we get away from our mind and just shut it down for a little bit where we can, just concentrate on nothing? Nothing. No television, no radio, except if you're listening to this show. Just turn it all off, turn off the family and make me time. Because I think a lot of us, Geraldine, have a lot of troubles taking time for us.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. Some of us are not even going to be able to do that because we have children, we have partners, so we have to make dinner, we have to, do the laundry, all these things. We have to get up and go to work. So here's the thing. In order to create balance in your life, you have to make a commitment that you are living a life of awareness, living a life that is committed to you. And so what you're now doing is you're no longer creating two separate categories. The separate category of the me that's crazy busy and stressed out, and the me that is now in Zen mode or disconnected from all this stress. It has to be merging into one, okay? Because when you separate them, it's going to be impossible because you're now compartmentalizing parts of yourself, which is literally impossible. So you have to integrate those parts of yourself, and you have to integrate this idea and this intention into every moment, even right now. Right now, where is your mind? Where is your body? Do you know how your muscles are tensed in the lower back of your body? In your belly? Are you anxious? Are you worried? So the awareness has to be in this present moment at all times, so that when you are with your children, you're fully in your body and you're 100% with them. Your children know that when you talk to them and you're stressed out, you're only saying, mm-hmm, okay, yup, yes, all right, just to get through the emotions of interacting with them. Your partner knows when you're angry at something, you're speaking from that perspective. So, in other words, you end up being a complete inauthentic person throughout all your life, and this is the exhausting part, as we talked about earlier in the show. So, finding time for you should be every moment. You have to find time to be you, your authentic self, and at the same time, be what you need to do in that moment. And that is what has become idealistically difficult to do because of how society has shown us that our life needs to be, because of the entertainment industry, because of society, religion, and culture. We have all these ideas that the way life should be is nonstop little rat race that we're trying to be in constant survival mode. And that is a false concept that has to end now. I think that one of the things that came out to be a good product of this quarantine and all these things that are happening is that we were forced to take a step back. So let's take a look at that and notice the contrast of how it's benefited us throughout the last couple of months, okay, of being able to take a step back from work, being able to stay home with family, just slowing down for a moment has given us a breather between this crazy survival mode life into a moment of rest. And now we can begin to create practices. So right now, wherever you are, be aware of your body. Are you shaking? Are you moving something? Are you moving around? Are you multitasking? Take 1 second, 1 minute to be absolutely still. And I want you to notice how much energy is running through your body right now, and it becomes difficult to stay still. Okay? So just that, if you can do that for 1 minute, if you can put 5 minutes split up throughout your day. Do 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute at lunch, 1 minute in the evening, 1 minute before you go to bed. Imagine, little by little, you're training the body awareness, and that is life-changing. I guarantee you, just that one thing will transform the way you experience your daily life. And then you can try to spend time to do other things. You can go check out Geraldine's YouTube channel, where she has really awesome meditations that can really take you a little bit deeper, a step more, guided into deeper practices. If you're familiar with Vipassana meditation, it's the practice of emptying your mind, emptying the emotions, and being completely still. It is amazing. It's like a vacation. And when you get up from that moment, you're so re-energized. You have restored the energy in your body. Okay? So it's not a matter of making time. It's a matter of being that consciously aware person. And that is what's going to really make a huge effect in your life.
What about for those, Geraldine, who are just beat up by daily life? Okay? Maybe they don't have a good home life. Maybe, there's parents over there who try their best with their children, but their children continually just beat on them. And I don't mean that in a physical sense, but just, teenage attitudes or selfishness, because children are different today. You can't discipline children like you used to, when you and I were growing up. Okay, kids are very smart these days. They're very attuned. They're way smarter than what I think. Like, I look at my kids and I think they are way smarter than I ever was at that age. Maybe it's the technology. You get beat up by social media. You get beat up by your bosses. You get beat up by, just drained emotionally each and every day. Is there a difference between recovering from emotional stress and emotional baggage comparatively to spiritual baggage?
If you are being constantly drained, it's because you're allowing your emotions to take over your experiences. Again, we explained this earlier. I mean, if you're investing in these experiences emotionally charged, you will be drained in whatever is happening, whether it's your children or your family, friends, your coworkers, your job, whatever it is. You will be depleted. So the key to sustaining life force energy, an infinite source of life force energy, is for you to be in control of your emotions. The first 3 chakras are the connection to the physical plane. You are manipulated by your fears, by your sexuality and your ability to create, and by your emotions. Those are the main centers of manipulation for human beings. When we come into this physical 3-dimensional plane, the sensory body is what rules the experiences. And so if you are not in charge of those centers, you will be manipulated left and right by everything around you. Now, let me tell you, your children are a direct, mirror of all of the things that have been unresolved emotionally within you. They know you sometimes even better than you. Children have a certain way of tapping into absolute truths, sometimes that are very difficult for us to see or acknowledge or even want to acknowledge. And so a lot of times what causes frustration in children when they get into their teen years is that they have been completely dealing with a disassociation between intuitively what they know to be true and right, and that they've been feeling and experiencing conflicting thoughts and experiences with parenting, with emotions, with expectations of the roles of each person in the family that plays those certain roles, and even in society. Okay, they have to battle their hormones, and they have to battle expectations, these false expectations that are created by society, and that causes a tremendous amount of anger that amounts as they get older. And so all of that is, they're feeding off of your frustration in life and anger, and their frustration in societies. So you see, we have to be, as parents, a guiding light, holding space, which means that we got to know our emotions first. If we don't know our emotions, and then we go into talking to our kids about it, our kids are going to call us out before we even get there. And so being absolutely authentic and real and speaking only truths, not in manipulations, not in protections or trying to play in with the dialogues that they do, because sometimes children will be manipulating in order to get love or attention or be seen or be heard, So we have to be able to look at those things and act accordingly from a place of unconditionally loving ourselves and loving unconditionally this child, this situation, everything that's happening around us. And it takes a lot of bravery to be able to see things very truthfully in our experiences and to act from a place of compassion. Okay, but this is a process that we got to do the work first. If we don't do the work, we end up depleted. Now, is there a difference between that? No, there isn't, because again, the body is storing all of these experiences in the body, and it's what makes us completely drained by the end of the day. So if we're in charge of our emotions and in constant sustaining false lies and all these charades and masks and manipulations, of course you're going to be depleted and tired. Your body's going to hold on to illness, sickness, all kinds of things, chaos in the family, disharmony. So you are in charge. You have to work with those contractual agreements. If you have very toxic people in your life, you got to start doing the work. You became a vibrational match to those experiences and those relationships because of a belief that you had subconsciously that was a match to that. So you got to identify what that is. You got to start working on that. You have to see there are no such thing as victims. That's the thing. We keep thinking that we're helpless in our lives and victimized. We are not. We created those chaotic lives. We created those chaotic relationships. We raised our children the way that they are. They are a product of all of our fears, anxieties, doubts, angers, frustrations. And not just us, but ancestral cyclical patterns that go down our ancestral lineage, from father, mother, and so on and so forth, all the way back. So there's a lot that we as adults have to really understand, and it starts with getting to know yourself, to being absolutely authentic with the emotions, the fears that you have, and working on them little by little, taking time to do that, because otherwise we are continually going through these patterns, and our children are a product of that, and they take their frustration out. They want to escape because they don't understand. You don't even understand your emotions. So how can you expect your child to understand? The child just wants to find an escape, and so they go trying to do all kinds of things. So noticing those patterns and working on them as soon as possible.
Okay, what about for those who are empathic? I would say the majority of the population out there has no clue that they are empathic, let alone knows what being empathic is all about. And yet we have a lot of people out there who are taking on a lot, and they don't even know that they're taking it on, Geraldine.
That's right, yeah, and it's a matter of just becoming aware and educating ourselves on how the body functions. And it's just a matter of observing yourself, okay? I mean, when you go into your office and there is that one toxic person that is always complaining, always, talking bad about someone else, you know that at the end of that conversation, you will be drained. So that is a very common thing that all of us have experienced at one point or another in our lives. So right there is a very clear example of how the dynamic is energetically between empathic people and parasitic people that are, feeding off our life force energy. But it's not that we're victims to these dynamics, it's that we participated in them. So the next time we come into these experiences, if we choose to no longer spend time doing that, literally creating very healthy, clear boundaries for our energy bank, then we no longer have to be going through those patterns. And so, we become aware of these things. We keep talking about these concepts like empaths and stuff like that, but all we're talking about is creating healthy relationships and healthy boundaries from a place of awareness. That's all you're doing. And you don't need to be empathic in order to know that if you're coming in contact with a toxic person, you should create healthy boundaries. You should say, I'm sorry, but at this moment, I don't have time to share right now, or I can't spend the time discussing these things, or I'd rather not discuss those things. So that way, in a way, they also become aware of that toxicity is not, it's not going to be had. It's not going to be supported in that environment. So, within the law of free will, every single person has a choice as to how they choose to experience something. And if you are giving your power away to people, places, and things that are not good for you, that's on you. So whether you're empathic, whether you're not, that's the first step. Second step, if you're empathic and you know about energy, even worse, you got to know how to utilize your tools. You got to know how to be aware of your energetic body. You got to know how to bring yourself back into neutral state. You have to know how to eliminate toxic emotions from the body and then be in the present moment in order to choose and create the experience that you're going to have. So we're talking about the same things here. It's just a responsibility. Take responsibility for you and your actions. That's where it starts. And that's how we begin to create healthy boundaries and healthy relationships across the board, energetically and just regular everyday life.
Okay. So for those who are taking on the energy and they don't even realize that they are, what's the first step in learning on how to deal with it?
Mm-hmm. So if we're taking on energy, first of all, what happens on the multidimensional body is that every time that we come in contact with someone, we create an energetic cord. There's a cord that connects us to another person immediately. We're interconnected like a gigantic network of what you look like is like a spider web with every single thread of that spider web meets at a point. Every single one of those points are reference points in your energetic body. And when you're handling yourself in your everyday life, you begin to experience these things, experiences, events, interactions with people. You're pulling from those reference points to inform your present moment. So in order to start working with that, you have to look at the interaction that you have with the other person and cut cords, break contracts, address the contractual agreement that you made in order to experience a lesson. We are grouped together on this planet Earth and in families and in networks and in relationships by vibrational frequency. You are a vibrational emanation, and all your vibrational frequency is informed by the information that you're holding within your DNA. Your DNA is being fed by information that comes down your lineages, all the way down to the very beginning conception of life on this planet. So you're a product of all of this programming. So as you're interacting, when you cut cords with these people that are toxic, you begin to look at the contractual agreements that made you a match to that relationship. This is how you can reverse them. You have to understand what your participation was in creating that relationship. And once you identify that, you can begin to dissolve and work on that part. Understand what it is that you were trying to get in order to attract that relationship. Okay, and this can be people that you meet on the street. It can be your family members, your colleagues, and coworkers. We are all a vibrational match and a mirror to one another. And sometimes, we have to really dig deep. We have to go under those layers of parts of us that the ego wants to preserve. It wants to protect itself from being seen. We've been so used to being heard sometimes that we have created a complete narrative that we adapt to. In all our lives, with our partners, even with ourselves, we continue to play out this narrative that is really toxic to us, that doesn't allow us to connect with our true authentic self. So that inner work has to be done. And so you have to understand your roles that you play in those relationships and why you play them. And see what's true. Does it serve you to play that role? What are you trying to get? If you're trying to get love and attention, which is usually what we are all trying to get from one another, is unconditional love and acceptance, to be seen, to be heard. If that's the intention behind all of these toxic experiences, then wouldn't it be easier to be that love, to give that love when it's needed, and address that part? What you're going to realize is that we live in a world of children. We are all children that have not been heard, that have not been seen, that have not been acknowledged or loved. And so when you start seeing at your peers like that, it begins to kind of change the way you interact with people. You can look at yourself more compassionately, and you can look at them more compassionately. And so now nobody's a victim. Now everyone is is able to understand that they can become their own healer. Okay, so that inner child, what does it need? It needs attention and love. Okay, give it attention and love. So now you're not going out and trying to get that from your partner, from your friends, and they translate into these kinds of really toxic, codependent relationships. So this is just one of the ways that you can do. There's many ways to do this, and I talk a lot about this a lot in our daily meditations. But doing that work and cleaning that up, cutting cords, resetting your energy bank, becoming responsible for your participation in creating these dynamics, these toxic dynamics, is really important.
Well, that's very, very important for all of us to learn. And when we come back, we're going to continue with Geraldine Orozco's The Spiritual You here on Spaced Out Radio. Her websites, GeraldineOrozco.com, BayAreaMeditation.com. The Spiritual You continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we're clear.
Great. I'm going to go grab some tea, and I'm going to be right back.
Grab that tea.
Okay.
How y'all doing, YouTubers? UB2Bs? If you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell thing. Alexander, I am from Central British Columbia. And I have a Tim Hortons in my town. Hello, Red Rose for you. Welcome to our chat room. Really appreciate it. We're on break right now. Am I feeling fresh? Actually, I'll be honest with you. I was a zombie all day today. All day today. Oh, Cat Chaser with a lovely $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All the time you do that. That's just fantastic. Thank you. I don't deserve it. I do not. Hey, Xavier. How you doing, buddy? Thank you, Corrence. I agree with you. Corrence. Got to get my ugly sleep. Enjoyed the show. Thanks, D. McKenna. Thank you very much for coming on in. Really do appreciate that, man.
All right, I'm back.
Well, that's nice. We like having you back.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. I got to think of a topic here. Okay, I got one. I just had to get it out of the yawn.
What's the topic?
I want to ask you about UFOs.
UFOs or contact?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
We could talk about contact.
Obviously, you didn't like my topic, so I'll just go right back into my cocoon now.
No, let's talk about contact for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about it.
Let's do it. I'm good with it. Even though I've been to San Francisco twice and you haven't shown me around town yet.
I know, but we gotta plan it. We gotta plan. You guys should both come down here and we can come do something. But right now, everything's in lockdown.
I know. Hey, Lorian's, who said she would never do another conference, is doing another conference in March of 2021, tentatively.
Oh, there you go. Well,
so
there's another reason.
I'm hoping that I will be speaking there. Hoping, fingers crossed, and if I am, I hope you're going to be there too, because I can't do a conference down there without you. And even though you've actually, no, the last time you did come and watch. So I can't.
Of course,
I can't bug you about that anymore.
Yeah, I was there. I remember.
I know. I just wanted to bug you about that. I'm like, shit, I can't bug you about that anymore. You know, my goal is one day, I want to hear you swear.
Oh my gosh. What for?
I just want to hear it. I just one F-bomb. I'd be so happy.
Oh, that's funny, Dave. Well, one day, perhaps.
One day. Our goal during the commercial breaks, one time during this show, is to have Geraldine use profanity.
Why don't we make another goal? Why don't we make some other goal?
This is a fun one.
All right.
She's going to be, oh, shit. I would accept that, just so you know. I would accept that. All right. Thank you to Cat Chaser, Kimberly, and Avni Jesus for the super chats tonight. Thank you to all the newbies coming on in, checking us out in the chat room for the first time. Here we go. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with the Spiritual You with Geraldine Orozco from BayAreaMeditation.com, based out of San Francisco, California, where she comes in once a month to discuss everything about our Zen and our Chi. And once again, her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Geraldine, I'm going to start with some audience questions here, because I know you love them, and I love them too. D. McKenna is asking, do you believe in using our imagination to create our future experiences, Geraldine?
That's a very interesting question that I was actually kind of reviewing over this past week. And one of the reasons why is because I was looking at how we manifest timelines. I went in a deep meditation at the beginning of this week trying to understand better what it is to co-create timelines. And what I realized is that when we come in to create from the present moment, what we're actually creating from this very moment is the most powerful creation in, let's say, the quantum field, this network that we are connected to, interconnected to one another. Because when we are co-creating from future selves, our intention behind those imaginations, those intentions, those kind of like we create these intentions in order to manifest. The intention behind that manifestation is what is actually creating. So if you begin to visualize something for the future and you're looking at it, even subconsciously, very little subconscious part of you is creating that from a place of fear of this present moment, it's going to result in something that is a direct mirror to that fear intention. So in order to manifest, the true emotions that one feels in this present moment have to be in alignment with what you're willing to co-create, and they cannot be from anywhere from a place in the past or a place in the future. So manifesting, in other words, the idea of the law of attraction would then completely change because, in mainstream, we talked about the law of attraction, creating these vision boards and all these things and things that you want. But how do you even know that you want those things? When you really peel the layers of programming, you realize that what the human really wants, what the human body, what this organism requires is very different than any kind of desires or needs for things, places, and things. It is the ultimate higher self that wants to embody a place of balance, a place that will come into a state of thriving and growing and co-creation that will surpass and will be much more powerful than just manifesting things. And when you're in that state, when you're in alignment with your emotions and your intentions, what you create are so much more perfect to your journey. Your mission per se, quote unquote mission. I don't necessarily think that we all have specific missions, but I think that we have opportunities to either embody our highest expression and embody the highest level of unconditional love possible, or to come into a state of destruction. And destruction can be something like being in constant survival mode, getting the car that you want, but then having to deal with chaos in your life, for example. So, the science of creation is very interesting. And our most powerful reference is to look at nature. Nature creates from a place of balance. When a plant has everything that it requires in order to be healthy, it thrives, it grows, it now covers an entire garden. It's become this expansive force of creation. So if you think of yourself as that when your body comes into perfect balance, it can then really, really manifest and create. This is where I believe manifestation comes into play in a more powerful and constructive manner.
All right, let's move on to Cedric's question. Is the Akashic Records accessible without going into meditation?
Yes, when you are in a state. So let's be clear about the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records are the records that are directly connected to this current timeline, to this dimensional timeline that we call the Earth and its universes and all of its living organisms that we are aware of. Are holding the records of the DNA of this architecture, in other words. So the Akashic Records holds in that DNA the historic timeline of evolution of this entire system in which we participate in. So we have access to that when we are deconstructing blockages within the body that hinder our ability to embody the higher self, which then gives access to the connection to this kind of overlay of information in the physical body. There's other layers of information that are available to us beyond the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records is simply the reference and let's say it's a library of information of the history of this evolutionary timeline. So we can tap into that when we are aligned with our spirit self, with our highest self. We can navigate it when we go into astral body. We can connect to these Akashic Records at any given time. This is what psychics can do. They tap into those informations. That's how they find information about you and your genetic network and you have what is it called? Mediums that tap into your grandparents and ancestors. All that information is recorded in the Akashic Records, which is basically like the holographic DNA for this evolutionary timeline that we are part of.
All right, let's move on to another question here from our audience. George is asking, can some ETs, in your opinion, be from our future or Earth's future?
Absolutely. I mean, what extraterrestrials? So it's not really so much. I would love to move away from the concept of extraterrestrials, going into the concept of interdimensionals, really, because that's really what it is. We have to move beyond the idea that we are just physical. We are more than physical. We are only 10% of us is physical. The rest is non-physical. And it's the same for the Earth body, this celestial body that we're a part of, this planet Earth, all the moving celestial bodies that we're a part of are more rather non-physical than physical. And so when we look at what extraterrestrials or interdimensionals actually are, they're fragments of ourselves, because again, we are one consciousness fragmented in a gigantic range of frequencies. Those higher frequencies are what we know as the future. Lower frequencies and other fragments of ourselves can be as a reference point from things that are in the past that have lowered in frequency, become physical, okay? And so when we tap into this information, to the higher aspects of ourselves, to our fragments, we begin to unlock some of this extraterrestrial contact. And some of us have been on this earth. We've moved through several fragments of ourselves in this physical plane and in other dimensional timelines. We have access to those. We have access to even in our lineage, our mitochondrial lineage, we have a reference of our contact that has gone down our mitochondrial DNA, right? So in other words, our mother has had contact, our grandmother, so on and so forth, down her lineage. We hold that information in our body, and a lot of times we are connecting with similar groups of this kind of consciousness. They can manifest as these blue people or these grays or these man-tip people that we seem to have resonance with. And in some form, these species are like archetypes on a much higher level that we are also cycling through in this dimensional timeline.
All right, let's move on here to another question. Cat Chaser is asking, Geraldine, have you ever had a breakdown?
Of course, we absolutely all have breakdowns. I mean, I've had many traumatic situations in my life that have caused me to question reality, question life, question the meaning of life and continuing life. And in my early years, when I was so unaware of my ability to be in control of my emotions, that was definitely something that I used to come into. Now, over the past 4 or 5 years, I've gone into existential crises of having to really integrate concepts of the universe and our reality that are just so difficult to integrate, things that you really could not, are beyond our human capability to integrate. And I think it's a process that we all have the opportunity of experiencing through our personal spiritual evolution. I think when we really deprogram the earth programs, we can enter much higher realms of information that are available to us. And sometimes those things can be very overwhelming, and we can't find a place in our physical experience to, place them. So what those experiences have taught me is that we are more than just this physical body, than this identity of Geraldine with this body, with this identity. We are beyond that, and so we begin to kind of dissolve. The identity of the human begins to dissolve in all of these concepts of our reality, where we realize that we are one. We are more energy, more consciousness, and the higher self has the opportunity to embody and really become a co-creator. And so we no longer need to embody this feeling of victimization or being helpless. It no longer becomes something that's necessary.
Mark is asking, what's the end game with this whole hybridization thing? Ascension or takeover, colonization, or Christian prophetic biblical fulfillment, or none of the above?
Well, I think that all of those are possible perceptions. Nobody can claim to know the truth about them because, again, if we look at the physics of our reality, we are constantly moving in and out of timelines. We're constantly moving in and out of dimensions. There is no possible one answer for these things, in my opinion. But if we do look historically at the genetic evolution that we've experienced as a human race originating from one point, obviously there is some kind of interest in the genetic information that we hold within our bodies. And I believe that genetic code, which is linked to other dimensional aspects of ourselves that are far more important than just the physical body, is what is being utilized in order to sustain contractual agreements and cords that are tying us into this dimensional plane. Just the way we create cords with toxic people in our lives, as a whole human race, when we are hybridized, those children that we create are fragments of ourselves that continue to be utilized in a reincarnation cycle in other dimensional timelines to carry out agendas, to hold places with information that are specific to agendas or things that want to be carried out in those places. So what's important is our genetic code, understanding what it's holding on to. The multidimensional body becomes fragmented when we have children. Part of our soul goes into our children. Part of our soul, our genetic information, holographic information, goes into the children that we create in the hybridization program. So in my personal opinion, what I've seen and experienced, I feel like hybrid children are meant to continue and sustain this dimensional timeline, this matrix, so to speak, matrix multiverse. And so our participation in that sometimes happens when we are unconscious or subconscious. Now, some of these can be utilized in order to enhance our race, and some of them can be utilized to destruct. My belief is that any kind of entity that is really, truly on the highest vibrational frequency never feels that they need to interfere or utilize someone as a host in order to co-create. So, and this is just my personal opinion, I mean, Source is complete. You know, it experiences through all potential possibilities through this dimensional timeline, but there are also other aspects of our dimensional dimensions that we can experience that don't abide by the laws of creation that are only for this earth. So that's just my opinion.
Corrence is asking, who keeps the Akashic Records up to date? Is there like an Akashic Records librarian?
Well, you are the librarian. All of us are the librarians. Our actions are constantly feeding information into those. Not just our actions in this current timeline, but all our fragments are experiencing. We experience through our fragments, and those fragments are also feeding information into the Akashic Record. Imagine the Akashic Record as a hologram that is interconnected to your holographic DNA. Okay, it is like the major master, library database of information of all living organisms in this matrix multiverse.
All right. Follow-up question from Corey. He is asking, how does watching movies or television shows affect us? For instance, does watching things that are sad, like the SPCA commercials, drain us, or watching horror films?
They absolutely do drain us. And I mean, what we have to look at, first of all, is what is television? Okay, what is television? This is, first of all of these TV shows and channels are owned by major corporations that their main purpose is advertisement. Okay, so they are there to sell you things. And so the people that are buying real estate on these television shows are there to make money off you. And so the question is, when you sit down and you watch TV or you listen to, something on YouTube or the radio, you have to use discernment to understand that the majority of the information that is being put out is being bought by organizations that are under an umbrella of certain specific families that are running and being funded by 11 main banks. Okay, 11 main banks own all of the companies on this planet Earth. Can you imagine that? So you begins to really kind of put into question the intentions behind these. They are interlinked with political agendas, lobbyists, financial institutions, pharmaceutical industry. You name it. Okay, those are what are informing the things that you're watching on TV, and even films and movie. There are many aspects of it. So, we just look at historically at the whole history of how the concept of conspiracy theory came about, created by the CIA. Right, so we just have to look at how and why things are made, how they are put into our society, why they are created that way. And if you begin to ask the right questions, you can really begin to understand where you should be spending your time in, right? So if you want to be a part of the capitalist system of being a consumer, being in front of a television is going to be a great thing for you, because you're going to be falling right into that. You're going to be following the trends. You're going to be following, fashion, radio, music, all those things. Now let's talk about vibrationally what happens. All of this information that you're listening to is a vibrational frequency. They are patterns of information that are literally encoded to completely shift and change the vibrational frequency of your body. They are encoded with intentions. Again, just the way you create from your intention, these systems are also creating from an intention. And the intention is to create robots and keep you in a hypnotic state. Hypnotic state, the patterns of lights, the way that if you look at a TV and how the lights are changing the patterns of lights, it is constantly putting you into a state of hypnosis. And that hypnosis is feeding into your subconscious mind programming that makes you question your intuition. It makes you question the choices that you make. It makes you feel fear. All of these things, okay? So it's a major psychological manipulation that is occurring at that point. And so your body is taking on all of that. So we have to take ownership of this body and no longer be a host to all of that crap that we're taking on to our body. And that is one of the steps that is happening on our current timeline right now, is that we're having to choose to embody unity consciousness by becoming aware of ourselves and pulling away from these parasitic organizations, parasitic consciousness that does nothing but feed off your life force. It starts with the idea of being a victim, okay? Being a victim and having to be in survival mode. All of that is not our reality anymore, and we don't want that to be our reality anymore. So,
good answer. Good answer. We've got about 4 minutes here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Geraldine Orozco is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to Alexander's question. Geraldine, do you have an interdimensional name as a hybrid mother? Well, there's a question we've never asked you before.
Yeah, that's a lovely question. The truth is, I don't. In my early journey, I had received invitations through hypnosis, through accessing these higher realms to participate aspects of myself that were part of a council of 8, a council of 12, channeling information for these extraterrestrials, connecting with these hybrid kids, so on and so forth. And what I realized is that in order to be a sovereign soul that's in charge of my free will and my ability to connect to my higher self, I didn't want to be entangled contractually with any of those agreements. Therefore, I decided to only channel from my higher self, to only be in charge of the information that comes in and through my body. So the hybrid children are very much there, and I'm sure they're living out their fragments that I have participated in co-creating. But I do not sustain contractual agreements and cords with them. Okay, so I have completely wanting to embody my complete sovereignty and my free will, and that's what my focus is now.
All right, moving on here. Let's sneak in another question. And let's go to... let's go to Gary here, the Spudger. What does it mean if you're an empath, but keep on having night terrors?
Okay, very good. So a couple of things are happening here, and I'm going to speak directly to this personal experience. Attachments and vortex openings within our energetic body, okay? So what happens with us when we're not aware of our multidimensional body, and sometimes this happens when we do drugs or when we are not aware of our body. Even drinking sometimes creates major fragmentation in the body, okay? This fragmentation in the body creates openings that entities can attach to. And so what happens over time when we're not aware of our body, we then end up in the nighttime when the body is resting, when we are in dream time, which when we enter these Akashic records and these astral levels of the body, and we're not aware of our physical body, we become a complete host. And what happens is that we're not in charge of our body. We need to return to our body and be fully in this physical body, closing up all of those openings, healing the fragmentation in the body, and beginning to remove all of those contractual agreements with those entities and attachments that are residing in our space. You can absolutely do that. I have a video on my YouTube channel on how to release and disconnect from these entities and attachments. That's really powerful. I highly suggest you check it out. and the terrors are a result of that. Another part that I need to mention is that sometimes we have implants in the body that are also targeted by artificial intelligence mind control operatives, okay? And these can either be interdimensional or they can be even military. So I suggest that you take a look at what's happening in your life directly and seeing if there are any of those cords or contracts or experiences that may relate to those and begin on working on those. You have to create energetic hygiene in order to protect yourself from those and begin to work on embodying your free will. Okay? So, yeah, we'll leave it at that. If you have more questions, let me know.
We will. We're going to go into break, and if our audience wants to bring in more questions, we can do that in the next and final half hour with Geraldine Orozco as we prepare to enter hour number 3 here on Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine Orozco's The Spiritual You continues right after this. Then at the bottom of the hour, we're going to head to Vancouver, join up with Shane and The Shift. Yes, a busy hour 3 coming up on the mighty SOR. All right, my friend, I'm just going to run my dogs outside again, and I'll be right back, okay?
All right, awesome.
Put on the commercials.
The SOR Vault is
we got
open
6
for
minutes.
business, and we have some cool swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightline Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in this supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
we're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
All right, I'm back. We got 90 seconds.
All right, ready to go.
All right, me too. Hey, Brian Smith, thanks for coming on in. And Pharmacy, good to have you here. YTFP, Chris, good to see you here. All right. Remember, do me a favor, if you have any questions for Geraldine, make sure you put them in capital letters. I would really appreciate that. Just makes it a little easier for me to read them and find them, because I don't like missing questions. Hey, Bombshell Bomber, how are you? And no, I do not approve that message of breakfast is for dinner. I do not approve that message. All right, thank you to Cat Chaser, Kimberly, and Ovni Jesus for the super chats tonight. Really appreciate that. Thank you to everybody who's newly subscribed to our channel. Really appreciate that as well. And here we go with hour number 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you in SOR headquarters. Thank you for joining us. We say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ginglymus. Ginglymus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Geraldine Orozco from Bay Area Meditation in San Francisco, California. She comes on once a month for The Spiritual You, where we get into our Zen, our Chi, and our ET contact, because we love Geraldine around here. And, of course, her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Welcome back, Geraldine.
Hey, thank you.
All right, let's get into an audience question here. Xavier is asking, how do we balance living in the moment with planning?
So, it's very interesting. We think that it's difficult to be in the present moment and also plan for things, because planning is part of the future. But the thing is that how are you going to know what you should plan for your future if you're not aware of what should happen now, right? And so right now, a lot of the things that we're choosing to do, sometimes we choose to do things from a place of fear, not really authentically what we want to do. We do it because we think we have to, or we think we should, or we think if we don't do it, something will happen to us. So my suggestion is that you take a look at all of the things that you have in your planner and look at which one of those things are things that are very constructive for yourself and fully in alignment with yourself. And notice if in your planner you have any of those things that are not in alignment with you, really, truly. Okay, so this relates to relationships, things that you do on your off time, events that you go to, activities that you do, choices that you make in your business, family, friends, personal life. It's a different way of living. It's coming into a state of complete authenticity with what really truly resonates. And what I hope you find through that practice is that a lot of times what we end up wanting to do, what we end up doing, sometimes we realize that we're either doing because it's a monotonous, repetitive thing that we think is something that must be done. But truly, you're not really in alignment with that. And so notice that when you do those things, they end up usually in more conflict than you started. So the point of merging your present awareness with your planning is that you begin to shift from doing things from a place of survival mode to a place of actually consciously co-creating things that are really going to benefit you. And this is true even for business. I mean, when I was first starting my business, I noticed right away that it's very easy to get away in all of these trends of being an entrepreneur, going to events, networking, all these things. But truly what was really in alignment with me was to slowly build and focus on my craft, on my art. And even if it meant spending less time with social events and spending more time with my work, it really created a connection between what I was building. And so we begin to live more authentically, more connected with what we're doing. And this will help make the choices that you make something that's more productive, more creative, and it'll be more sustaining energetically, like for your health, and with your relationships. It's going to be more in alignment with all of the things that are happening in your life. And you just come into a state of flow that is in alignment with what's good for you instead of what's more destructive.
All right, let's see if we had any more here from the audience as we continue on with the Spiritual You with Geraldine Orozco. I think we are caught up on all of our questions for or from the audience in our chat rooms for right now. I want to talk about ET contact because a lot of people have been talking about CE5s lately, okay, and how they want to be able to have some sort of extraterrestrial contact, whether it's through meditation or whether it's through straight concentration on the stars. Is this something that you are in agreement with regarding trying to contact extraterrestrial species?
That is a very interesting question. One of my dearest friends, Andrew Radzewicz, I'm going to say his name wrong, his last name wrong, is one of the best and is incredible at doing CE5s. And what he does is he really connects and brings every single day, if you visit him on YouTube, he connects with UFOs. And it's amazing the things that he captures through his video. But the way I look at things is from the concept of consciousness. What are we doing? I really feel that when we connect with extraterrestrials, it is a projection of our own self. We are looking at a fragment of ourselves interdimensionally expressed through extraterrestrials or these UFOs that are communicating with us. And when we come into our power, when we come into our connection with our intuitive self, we have the ability of creating a dialogue with these interdimensional fragments, because what you realize is everything is a reflection of yourself. And these extraterrestrials, interdimensional beings, are no different than that. So if you're talking about it from that perspective, I think that it's a part of us getting to know each other on another dimension. It's a part of us, an extension of ourselves that we're becoming aware of. We are one consciousness, and I think that's the most important thing to notice. When we start splitting things up and saying these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, I feel like that creates a lot of distraction, a lot of fear, and even further compartmentalization of who we really are. So I really tend to want to stay away from all of those ideals and, concepts. And it's very easy to get caught up in those things when we talk about extraterrestrials, because it's still something that is still coming into the mainstream, and we are beginning to shift and change the way that we feel and perceive extraterrestrial contact. It's our responsibility as experiencers to open space for more people to feel comfortable talking about it, because this is the age that we're going into. We are merging with artificial intelligence, with transhumanism. Technology is merging into the organic, and what you're going to find at the end of that are these extraterrestrial interdimensional beings, because consciousness is manifested through more than just the physical self, right? It's the non-physical aspect of ourselves that we're just becoming aware of. So I think with CE5s, there is an opportunity for us to experience, and I myself, with a friend of mine here in the Bay Area, had the opportunity to participate in those CE5s, and I saw UFOs. I saw them light up. I saw them communicate with me, to respond to me when I asked a question. And so right there, you have an incredible confirmation of that contact and your ability to affect consciousness, to affect other living organisms, other aspects of ourselves that are reflected through these phenomena that are available to us. And it can be either extraterrestrials, ghosts, all of this phenomena that is going into the unknown and the unseen realms is a reflection of ourselves, in my opinion. So what I don't agree with, Dave, is parasitic consciousness. Okay, so when we are coming into states of victimization and we begin to channel parts of ourselves from a place of disempowerment, sometimes the information that comes through can be manipulated. I mean, there's also parts of government that are very much manipulating and doing mind control and psyops and stuff like that. So we have to be aware of that. And there's a tremendous part of the government that's also participant in the disinformation of a lot of these things, like alien technology or quote-unquote alien or advanced technology. So, as a part of our sovereignty and free will, we have to inform ourselves on how our current society is handling the concept of extraterrestrial contact, and hopefully, one by one, with our personal experiences, begin to rebalance that perception from something that's toxic and dangerous into something that is a natural expression of our multidimensionality.
Okay, so for people who have never had contact and are urging themselves to try and make some sort of contact with ETs, they don't care what it is, if it's positive, if it's negative, or it's somewhere in between. I mean, this is something that a lot of people, for their own well-being, want to have some sort of clarity and answer to whether or not we are alone in this universe. Is that a healthy way of doing things for the mind, body, and soul, considering that when you play with fire, sometimes you get burned?
That's exactly right. And you have to be careful what you wish for. It's not a matter of being careful necessarily. You have to be aware of what you're wishing for. Because, when you're dealing with these things, you will experience what you intend to experience. And what's creating your experiences is your subconscious mind. So if the ego is trying to get acknowledgement by having some kind of extraterrestrial contact or manifesting some kind of abduction or manifesting something, you will probably experience something like that, but it's probably not going to go the way that you think, because it's the ego that's creating something like that. And so if it's fueled by fear, which is more than likely what will happen, you're going to attract all kinds of really dark entities. And trust me, there is darkness in this universe that we can't even imagine. We can't even prepare ourselves to understand, because we live in a reality of polarity, right? And so all the darkest aspects of the human race are also available in our multidimensional aspects. And usually the more suppressed, the most profound dark aspects of ourselves are what become manifested in these kind of phenomena. Because it's an uncontrolled, disembodied expression of some of the deepest, darkest vibrational frequencies. And that's the same with ghosts and with other entities. So, it's just, we're educating ourselves through that experience. It's your free will, you can feel free to experience that, but just take it as an experience where you are educating yourself through your own personal experience, the different ranges of polarity. And there is such thing as darkness, and there is such thing as parasitic consciousness. And so if you're met with those, be prepared to also learn the other side of it, which is how to recover from that and how to come back into your free will and sovereignty. Anytime that we give our power away to these experiences and to other entities or to gurus or to these highly advanced beings, supposedly, we can lose a lot of our life force, and so it's always important to maintain balance with our relationships, physical and non-physical. So I would suggest really taking a moment to think about how it's going to achieve. And sometimes if your subconscious need is to be attended to or acknowledged or seen, please find another way to do it because, this is not going to be a constructive way for you.
Okay, so I get that and I understand it because I've done it myself. Okay, and with some limited success, not for a couple of years though. How do the entities choose whether or not they want to communicate with us? So, for instance, with some people, it's easy. All of a sudden they look up at the sky, they point up and they're like, okay, let's see you. Where are you hiding in the stars? And poof, all of a sudden there's lights up there flashing at them. Other people can do the same thing, and it's like they're sitting out there for hours, days, weeks, years, nothing outside of satellites.
Mm-hmm. See, the subconscious mind is a funny thing. You can be sitting there for years, but if you have a doubt in what you're going to see, or if you have a fear about what you're going to see, you're not going to see it. If you have absolute belief that you're going to see what you're going to see, you're going to see it. So, and these are things that are so subtle, that are so deeply programmed in our subconscious mind that sometimes it takes a lot of reflection to uncover them, okay? And it really is a testament to how we are co-creating from our subconscious mind. And a lot of us, we're so disconnected from ourselves that we haven't even taken the time to ask ourselves what our true beliefs are. Do we have fear? Do we fear what we could potentially experience? Really, that fear can really take over the experience. And now, in order to preserve yourself, you block what you're going to be experiencing because the reality is you're not ready to see that. So I think it takes a really big, you got to look at your beliefs because it's not that the entities choose you. You choose them because you're a vibrational match to them. And sometimes you might not be experiencing ET contact, but you might be experiencing all kinds of entities, pains in your bodies, illness. All of these are forms of communication with the interdimensional plane that we're not aware of because we store toxic information in the body and it becomes a host to all kinds of entities and quote-unquote aliens that are feeding off our life force, literally, and this happens to our entire human race. So, there's many layers in our multidimensionality, and there's levels of awareness that we have to study when it comes to this kind of contact.
Okay, so when you're putting out the intention on what kind of contact that you were, how do you know if you're getting positive contact compared to negative contact?
Well, you're definitely going to know. When you're a beginner, sometimes, you're so shocked at what you just experienced that you're not sure what you're experiencing. Like, for example, when I first had my ET contact, I was so shocked. I wanted to call the police and try to find some quote-unquote justice to connect me with my hybrid children that I believed were mine, right? So, when it's the first time, you really don't know, because what's happening is there's a huge rift. There's a veil that's being ripped open between the physical and the non-physical. But what will inform the experience is what is a product of that. So the product of that experience was incredibly activated psychic abilities for me, for example. And so to me, that opened up my life to a new career, a new work, a different focus, a purpose, so to speak. Some people experience healing through interdimensional contact. They heal illnesses. There's a gentleman that talks about that. I forget his name. I don't know if you know him. Oh, Preston Dennett. Preston Dennett does beautiful work on researching extraterrestrial contact and healing, for example. And then there's dark parts, right? Reptilian agendas, draconian agendas, which are very much connected to our lower frequency experiences, where they're harvesting our eggs. They are harming us. They're doing experiments on us. Again, our perception for these things are coming through our human perception. So it's going to be limited, right? You're going to think that you're being raped, abused, all these things, and to them, they have a different perception of that. Okay, but we become a match to those experiences, and sometimes it's really hard to accept that. But we have in some way attracted these vibrational frequencies, and these are contractual agreements that we made in other lifetimes, in other parts of ourselves. Other fragments of ourselves have agreed to experience this. Everything is an experience. Everything is a learning opportunity. I wish that more people would look at it this way and kind of detach from having to categorize it between right and wrong, because you can really lose yourself in right and wrong. You can really lose the meaning of life. You can hurt yourself a lot by trying to categorize it in a compartmentalized manner, and that can be very destructive to yourself.
Makes a lot of sense. Geraldine Orozco, we have her for another 3.5 minutes here on the show. Geraldine, once contact is made, is it something that is a one-off affair, or is it something that will continue?
Oh, that's up to you. I think it's up to you. But you know what? I think that once the veil is open, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to get to know yourself, your interdimensional aspects, and what is available out there. For me, in my own early journey, my intention was to find truth. And so I was met with all kinds of entities and beings and aliens that informed my ability to discern truth in those communications. So your journey with interdimensional contact is completely up to you. And as a sovereign soul that has the free will to choose, it's your job to create what you're going to experience and co-create with those beings and bring back. And as an experiencer, please do share your experience so that other people can know what it's like to connect. Because that's you are the disclosure, of what we're experiencing here.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Geraldine, with that, okay, so when you're putting out everything and you want that just a one-time affair, okay, where you just want to make sure it's real, can you shut it off if the ETs keep coming back?
Yep. Yes, you can. You can break contractual agreements that you've created with them, and you can work with the contractual agreements that you made with these aspects of yourself. Like, for example, to experience abduction, reptilians, draconians, everything from Arcturians to higher vibrational beings. If you no longer wish to participate, you can break those contracts. Contracts are agreements or energetic exchanges of information. You can choose to no longer participate and share that with them. And so that way you take back your life force and you change your vibrational frequency. And that's an inside job, to change your vibrational frequency. So you're no longer in resonance. If you're in fear, you're going to continue to attract these beings into your space. Don't forget. For children, it's also the same thing. We can also create protections and symbols to protect our children. We can create energetic boundaries in our homes in order to no longer be a vibrational frequency match to those things. And we have to be able to protect. We can also come into a state of invisibility in order to protect our bodies and come more into the light body. I have a video on that I just posted, a workshop on how to come into invisible body. It's one of the most powerful protection techniques that utilize and can be applied to entities, attachments, and ETs as well as people. But there are laws to that, right? We can never enforce our free will on others, only yourself. So as long as you're in charge of your body, you're in charge of your life and your experience.
Geraldine, always a pleasure to have you on this show, and we absolutely love you. I can't believe we only have 2 more visits together before the end of the year.
I know, it's unbelievable. 2021, here we come, and with all force going forward. So I want to thank all the listeners. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. You guys are incredible, and thank you, Dave, once again for having me.
Oh, and we love you. Do me a quick favor. Give a shout-out to your YouTube channel.
Absolutely. Please find me on YouTube at Geraldine Orozco. And if you want to get a DNA reprogramming with me, you can find me at GeraldineOrozco.com and BayAreaMeditation.com. All my love. If you're an experiencer, come to hybridmother.com for a support group or a hypnosis session. I'm happy to work with you. Okay?
Oh, awesome. Geraldine, thank you so much for coming back on Spaced Out Radio. We always love it when you are here because you just bring so much sense. And I'll be honest with you, you're way more attractive than I am. So, better voice, better looks, better hair. Well, maybe not there. But you know what? 9 out of 10 ain't bad. 9 out of 10 ain't bad. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You. We'll see her on November 3rd. Coming up next, we're going to hook up with Vancouver and Shane in the Shift. Then we're going to get to the Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this.
Davey, thank you so much.
Let's give you a clap here.
Thank you. Love you so much.
If you go look in our chat room, everybody's clapping for you.
Aw, so many hugs and kisses. Love you guys so much. You guys are amazing. And I will see you next month. All my love.
See you on November 3rd, beautiful.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
I love her. Absolutely love her. Yeah, she is amazing. I'm so proud to call her a friend. So proud. So we're going to hook up with the Shift here momentarily. All of a sudden I'm going to get startled because they're going to ring in on Skype. Excuse me. And I'm going to be like, oh, what the hell was that? And then all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh, yeah, it's them. It's the Shift people. Yeah. That's how it works. That is how it works. Hi, Pam Christensen. I'm going to get a quick drink of water here. This is probably when they'll Skype and scare the daylights out of me. All right. Charge. Yeah, you guys were awesome. Great questions tonight, chat room. Great questions. And Marty on Twitter, you were looking fantastic for tonight's show. Hey, how you doing?
Dave Scott, how are you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing good. Doing good. You know, living the dream.
Living the dream as always. Yeah, a little bummed out about the Van Halen news today.
I know,
but,
right? You can't have Good News Tuesday with Eddie Van Halen passing away. You can't.
I know it's a huge downer, but all of my bed music tonight is Van Halen, so it's
good.
Yeah.
You know, if it's not too late, we'll take Love Walks In.
Ooh. That'd be good. That would be good.
Because you know that Van Halen song is about Sammy Hagar, and the female alien that's been abducting him for decades.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
True story. True story.
Nice. Yeah, I'll see if we can hook that up. No, things are going good over here. Going to get some woo tonight, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, do we got Shane tonight?
We have Shane tonight, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool, yeah. So we're coming back. Let's see, we're coming back in about 90 seconds or so
Okay,
here.
I'm just over 2 minutes here, and then I got to do my intro back. So if we could hook up at around 35 and about 36, that'd be great.
Okay, sounds good. We'll try and aim it to 36 there. All right, Dave. We'll chat shortly.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Number one trusted dealer of Bruno indoor and outdoor stair lifts in BC. Ensure the safety of your loved ones during these challenging times. With 3 locations to serve you, book your free in-home or virtual assessment today at hmestairlifts.com.
John Shorthouse here with Blair Manson from Sands.
John Shorthouse. Look at that. Let's just turn that down for right now. I know John. Good guy. Calls the Canucks games. Do 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 do. Yeah. Excuse me. I apologize. I got to be up early. Get my guy better. Get my little guy up in the morning. Get him ready for school. Make him a bagel because he likes bagels. Then help brush his teeth. Get his hair done. You know, for 3 years, it's kind of funny. For my little guy, going back a couple of years now, stole a bottle of my cologne, and he has to have a little spritz of cologne every day before he goes to school to make himself smell better. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So, yeah, got to get him ready for the morning. Give him a little spritz of cologne, and there we go. All right, guys. Excuse me. All right, here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Only thing I want in return is hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We're going to hook up with Vancouver right now.
I'm going to. I think I'm going to take some lessons from Dave Scott. I really am.
What do you say?
I'm going to subscribe to the Dave Scott School of How to Promote Twitter.
Oh, good. Hey, you know what? I'm just glad that you're a friend of mine on Twitter. I was feeling all abandoned there, and then I realized that I was the one abandoning you, so I owe you the apology.
Yeah, I've been following you all along.
Yes.
Dave got smart on Twitter. He was like, "Oh, look who followed." I'm like, "Dude, I've been following you for weeks and weeks and weeks."
I went away sheepishly. How you doing, Shane?
I'm good, thank you. We're struggling a little bit here, Dave Scott, because it is our Good News Tuesday show.
I know.
And normally we share good news, but we're struggling because with the passing of Eddie Van Halen,
right?
It feels weird talking about good news, but the good news needs to be shared anyway. And we were sharing some Van Halen stories. Did anything come to? It's okay if there isn't. I don't say it with an expectation that there is, but is there any Van Halen story that comes up for Dave Scott? Whether it's with friends or with, I know there's been a lot of father-son stories, or musically or anything like that landed with you through this day today?
I got two of them. Okay, number one, I thought I was such a rebel at 12 years old when I bought the 1984 album. All right? and I went into the music store, and I thought the cover was so badass because it had the baby laying on a carpet holding a cigarette, a lit cigarette, and I thought that, oh, my dad is going to chew me out for this. And so I went home and I hid the album. That's number one. But number two, from a woo side, okay, and our listeners know this, yours may not, but the Van Halen song, Love Walks In, on the album 5150, is actually a story about Sammy Hagar's E.T. contact and the alien woman who had been abducting him for decades.
What?
Yes. Go and read the lyrics.
Really?
So go to. I challenge all of your listeners who enjoy this segment of your show, and all of mine, to go on YouTube, type in "Love Walks In" lyrics, read the lyrics about it, okay, and then go to the Rolling Stone magazine story about Sammy Hagar's E.T. abduction and contact.
Well, I'm doing this now, clearly.
All right? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So, you know...
Matt, did you hear this? Have you heard this before? Is this new to Matt?
Well, Dave told me on the phone, and I was quite blown away by it, actually. But, yeah, I'd forgotten about Sammy Hagar's otherworldly contact.
Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Huh.
Yes.
So good.
There she stands in a silken
know.
gown, silver light shining down. And then you sense a change. Nothing feels the same. All your dreams are strange. Love comes walking in. Some kind of alien, reaches for the opening or something like that.
Some kind of alien waits for the opening.
Waits for the opening.
Some kind of alien waits for the opening.
And simply pulls a string.
Love comes walking.
Yeah. All about his E.T. contact.
Wait a second. Is he banging around with an alien? Is that what's happened here?
God bless him if the Red Rocker did. Okay?
Oh, man. I had no idea. Yeah. Zero, never, ever. This is brand new info. Brain.
Yeah. Check it out. You're going to be amazed. You'll never hear the song the same again.
All right. I like it. All right. Spacedoutradio.com. Where you can learn more about Dave Scott, and we talk about pretty much anything, clearly, on the program. And where are we going today, Dave? Because I know you have a couple of things sort of on your mind.
Okay.
And a couple of specific things, and we've got a couple other ideas, too.
Okay, so remember a number of months ago when I started this with Drex, because Drex challenged me, and you and I have talked about it since, about how I was waiting for Canadian politicians to get a hold of me about UFOs in Canada and Canada's role. Well, late last week, I actually got an email from my own member of Parliament, Kathy McLeod, in the Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou region. And, you know, God bless Kathy, okay, but I think she's a little bit out of touch. She tries to give me some information, but then kind of blows me off. And she goes, "Dear Dave, thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts with me. The Canadian government hosts a publicly searchable archive of government records about UFOs dating back to the 1950s. She provided a link. And then further, it is my understanding that meteorites and or shooting lights in the sky have been studied by the National Research Council with assistance from the RCMP. In addition, according to the Department of National Defense, sightings of unidentified airborne objects are reported to NAV Canada." So I actually got a lead there, and I'm going to check it out. See what NAV Canada has to say, but that's not what I want, okay? I want to know, what is this hidden group that is covering these objects within Canadian airspace?
Covering, you mean like researching and reporting?
Absolutely. Like, for instance, what they have in the United States, it's obviously happening up here. All right? So where do we get our information? Who stores it? NAV Canada? Really? You're going to allow them to do it? On such a top-secret government project? Maybe it's that simple up here. I don't know. But we're going to have to do a little bit more research.
Okay. I saw a new video that was posted just on an article site, and how do you cut through this? Because there was a video posted, and it was and I don't know the language. I do come to this conversation authentically in that my experience of all this is really novice, right? And I like that because I get to ask, I think, questions that many people have in their mind.
Sure.
And so in the video, it was the triangle UFO.
Yes, I just saw that today.
Yeah. So in this, though, what I saw in that, because in the center of it, it looks like there's a light sort of rotating. And so to me, my first thought was, in today's world, that looks like any other drone. So how do you cut through those kinds of people that are, throwing drones up and taking videos versus making legit videos? Because this one maybe goes this way, maybe goes that way. I don't draw a conclusion on it. But my first thought was, because I could actually see so many lights moving on it, it looked like it was just a drone. But like a hobby drone.
Yes.
Not like a big fancy military thing.
You could actually hear the fan blades on that one. You could hear the fan blades on that one too. Here's the big conundrum in the UFO world and even the cryptid world when it comes to creatures like Sasquatch. And I've been talking to a lot of investigators recently about this, who are basically saying that CGI and hoaxing on videos sites like YouTube or Facebook or whatever have literally killed any type of video content for research. So the average person now who captures a UFO or captures a Bigfoot walking across, some logging road when they happen to be going to their favorite lake to go fishing or something like that, the chances of that video actually helping the cause to prove anything is slim to none now. There's been way too much hoaxing. There's been, even the video you're talking about has already, by a number of UFO researchers, been confirmed as a hoax. And it's unfortunate because it was an amazing video, but every black triangle that has ever been reported doesn't have sound, at least as far as I know. And if you listen to that video, you can hear the whirring sound, almost like of propeller-type blades or drone-type blades. So that's where it gets a little bit eerie. And with the technology that is happening with drones these days, when it comes to UFOs, a good friend of mine, Rich Giordano, who runs a great YouTube channel called Goof On, and he is saying, and him and I have talked about it as well as other researchers, that the days of eyewitness testimony to UFOs using video cameras on your cell phones or maybe you have a GoPro, it's done, unfortunately. The hoaxing crowd looking for the 5 minutes of fame, a lot of clickbait, and a million hits so they can make some money off of viewing sites like YouTube have absolutely ruined that type of information. And it's too bad because there's a lot of good people out there who are capturing some very strange objects. And unfortunately, they may have the next great video and nobody is going to believe them because, unfortunately, nobody is buying videos anymore.
Well, you bring up a really good point. So deepfakes have become better and better to the point where not even real people, like not even real faces, computer-generated people have been created, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with deepfakes, though, and some of these face swap apps and these things that are out there,
yeah,
there's not much really stopping people from deep-faking alien faces and all of this stuff. That's probably next, isn't it?
Absolutely, that's next. And if we're not seeing it already, right? I mean, look, the days of people, grabbing a gorilla costume and acting like a bunch of idiots in the forest, those are easy to tell. But the way CGI has improved, especially over the last decade, there's a lot that we cannot tell anymore. Add to the fact that most researchers, or even amateur researchers, they blow up and pixelate the photos so poorly that you can't even tell. And they're like, see, don't you see the ears of that dog man? Or don't you see the wingtips of that UFO? No, all I see is a bunch of pixelated squares. You know, like, stop. Give me the original photo. That's the big thing right now with every investigator. So for your listeners out there who capture something anomalous, whether it's a ghost photo or a Bigfoot or something, a UFO, don't doctor the photo. Don't colorize it to try and figure out or lighten the photo. Just send the original to a good investigator. If you're not sure who a good investigator is, you can always get a hold of me on social media, and we'll point you in that right direction, because we love to help people out that way and make sure that they aren't getting information sent to a bunch of shysters who are playing investigator rather than, real investigators who do this for a living. All right? That's what we want to do. That's what we want to accomplish.
If I understand the conversation that you had with Jason, was that is there a piece of the U.S. election that you were hoping was going to expose some of this UFO conversation?
Good question. Good
now,
question.
Of course, the train wreck that is happening in Washington, D.C. right now is definitely taking away any other topics. But is that one of them that you were hoping to see?
Well, there was a lot of speculation, much like 2016, that there was going to be UFOs as a hot-button ballot issue, okay, especially with the confirmation from the United States Navy over the last year that they have been entangled with UFOs, or unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, during training sessions and in other areas. So much so that Florida Senator Marco Rubio, and we've talked about this on the show, so I'm not going to go into full depth of it, but he leads the Intelligence Committee, and he wants funding for UFO, UAP research to make sure that America's skies are safe and NORAD's skies are safe. However, leading up to this, all of a sudden, all of the COVID attacks around the White House with President Trump and the First Lady and everybody throughout the White House, and this becoming another major COVID attack around the United States, along with what is happening politically on a racial level, there's just no way the UFO talk, in my opinion, can even come up. I don't even think the subject will be broached anymore, even though it should, because they are about to potentially spend millions of dollars of taxpayer money looking into UFOs to see whether or not they are a threat to our North American, and especially in their case, American airspace. And how many people in the U.S. would want their taxpayers' money going to research that? Now, when we say UFO, we got to realize we're not just talking aliens here. We're talking maybe technology from another superpower like China or Russia that the United States may not have. It may even be their own technology that they're not even telling the people. But we don't know. I actually, if I could say one more thing, if anybody's interested in that, if you go to my website, spacedoutradio.com, I actually have a blog on that I wrote recently on why I believe that the UFO topic, unlike 2016, will be dead. Because if you go back to 2016, John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, he was egging on the media publicly on Twitter and on camera to ask her about UFOs. And finally they did. And she said she would try to disclose them. Because she and Bill there apparently have a real interest in UFOs. But that didn't obviously pan out. And I don't think UFO topics are going to pan out this presidential election either.
You know what I would like to see? I would love it to see Donald Trump and Joe Biden trying to explain UFO research on a stage. That itself would be so entertaining. It would be worth the price of the ticket.
You got that right. You got that right.
Right, Spaced Out Radio. Dave Scott, thank you, sir, for being here with us on the shift. I appreciate it.
Always appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much for having us once again.
I appreciate it. Dave Scott Radio. Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio.
All right, let's get to the news, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the sad. Of course, if you haven't heard by now, one of rock and roll's most gifted guitar icons, Eddie Van Halen, passed away at the age of 65. His son Wolfgang confirming the news on Twitter, where he said, "I can't believe I'm having to write this, but my father, Edward Ludwig Van Halen, has lost his long and arduous battle with cancer this morning. He was the best father I could ever ask for. Every moment I've shared with him on and off the stage was a gift. My heart is broken, and I don't think I'll ever fully recover from this loss. I love you so much, Pop." Now, the music world is going crazy about this because he was such an icon for many guitar players, including our own Ron Bumblefoot Thal, formerly of Guns N' Roses and currently of Sons of Apollo, who sends out a message saying, "Sending my deepest sympathies and all the love in the world to you, Wolfgang Van Halen, and to your family for this tragic loss." I mean, Bumblefoot, thank you so much for doing that. The music world obviously very, very upset about this tragic loss, with literally probably next to Jimi Hendrix, one of the greatest guitar players to ever take the stage. Eddie's Van Halen's ex-wife, actress Valerie Bertinelli, shared their son's message on her own account with breaking heart emojis. The pair were married for 20 years. According to other sources, Van Halen died at a Santa Monica hospital. His brother, or his son Wolf, his brother Alex, and his wife Janie were by his side when he passed away. Van Halen told Billboard magazine in 2015 that he had 1/3 of his tongue removed due to cancer that also spread to his esophagus. He says, "I use metal picks, they're brass and copper, which I always held in my mouth in the exact place where I got the tongue cancer," he said at the time. "Plus, I basically live in a recording studio that's filled with electromagnetic energy, so that's one theory. I mean, I was smoking and doing a lot of drugs and a lot of everything, but at the same time, my lungs are totally clear. This is just my own theory, but the doctors say it's possible." Van Halen was a guitar virtuoso whose blinding speed, control, and innovation propelled his band Van Halen into one of the hardest working rock groups ever, fueled by the unmistakable fiery solo in Michael Jackson's hit Beat It as well, and elevated him to a status of rock god. Gone way too soon, former singer Sammy Hagar of Van Halen said on Twitter, "Heartbroken and speechless. My love to the family." Absolutely tragic. Eddie Van Halen passes away at the age of 65. He's now rocking with the big boys. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. How do you deal with exhaustion? Marty, great clown tonight. Due to several medical issues, I often deal with fatigue. Naps help a lot, but learning to pace myself to get things done is how I most often deal with exhaustion. Let's go to William. AB Complex, apples and coffee. AC says, I go to sleep. Shanna, I pass out on the couch and miss the cool Scottish dude on Spaced Out Radio. Graham, rest, coffee, and an energy dragon drink. Dave, my friend. Kev, you get the final word. I spend time in the woods. That's always a good place, too. We want to say thank you for the abbreviated Thought of the Day, which will happen tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter. We say thank you to Captain Shirk for the SOR News Wire and updating us on the news, to Shane from The Shift, and Geraldine Orozco from The Spiritual You. Geraldine will be with us again on November 3rd, I believe. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody participating in our chat rooms tonight on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, Space Travelers Club on our website, and to all the snarkers and snarkettes hanging out at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. We had a great time with you tonight. I hope you did with us. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, guess what? We have room for them too. Good night.